Good morning, it's Ross with CitruScrub Carpet Cleaning right here in beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. Came in early this morning, just opened up the shop to make a quick video before I go to work to tell you about something near and dear to my heart, and that is this, the lowly Butler carpet cleaning wand. When you buy a new Butler system, just like that one right there, they give you one of these wands, and the first thing most guys do is throw that poor wand straight in the trash, or they lean it up against a wall in the shop and they never use it again. And the reason why is because wand technology has come a long way. That's got an 1.5-inch tube. Most guys these days want a 2-inch tube. It's made out of stainless steel. Most guys want titanium, maybe carbon fiber, maybe rotomolded plastic, so it's just no longer the sexy choice. But today I want to tell you why I think that is still one of the best wands on the market, and I wish more guys would reconsider and maybe use that wand. So I'm going to go through some of the virtues and strengths of this wand and maybe try to change your mind a little bit. The first thing I like about it is the fact that it's stainless steel. It's just heavy enough that it doesn't chatter on the carpet when you're cleaning and you pull the wand back. There's enough weight down on the head that it locks down to the carpet nice. Newer, lighter wands, maybe made out of titanium, they're so light they don't stay on the carpet. You pull them back and they kind of skip and chatter, and you have to redo a lot of your work because you didn't get a good lockdown on the carpet. And to me, that's a big waste of time. With stainless steel, yes, it's heavy. It's annoying carrying that thing up and down a stairway. I get it. But it does lock down on the carpet and it doesn't chatter. I have never had a problem with a stainless wand doing that like these new titanium wands do. And yes, I've tried both. The other nice thing about stainless steel is that it's got a little heft to it. So it is a little heavier. I think that's a virtue. When you're cleaning, you swing the wand forward and then you pull it back and then you swing it forward and you pull it back, and you do that all day long. And a lightweight wand, you're using all muscle to swing that forward. The wand doesn't have any weight. There's no momentum when you flick it forward. With a little bit heavier wand, you just give it a little flick with your wrist, and the momentum of that stainless steel, the weight, carries it forward, and you're not using all muscle. You just kind of flick it up there, it carries itself, and you pull it back. And I know it seems counterintuitive, but it's actually less fatiguing to use a heavier wand all day long. And of course, stainless steel is easy to clean. That wand has almost 500 hours on it, and as you can see, it looks brand new still because stainless is so easy to take care of. I got 3 pages of notes to talk about this wand, so I'm going to look at my cheat sheet a little bit here, off and on, just to make sure I cover everything. The fact that this is an 1.5-inch tube, that's another thing I like about this wand. Now, to most guys, that's going to be a demerit against this wand. They're not going to like that. They want a 2-inch tube. But for the first 13 years that I cleaned carpet, I used a 2-inch tube, and your hand can't take that big tube, that 2-inch tube. If trust me, if you haven't used one for very long, it's going to catch up with you, because you don't realize how big of a difference that extra 1/2 inch makes between an 1.5 inch tube and a 2-inch tube. So there's no power in your hand when you have it like this all day. That's how your hand is positioned to hold a 2-inch tube all day long. And your hand is really struggling to grip that wand because you can't clamp down. That's where the power is in your hand, is when you can clamp down, which you can do with an 1.5-inch tube. As soon as I started using an 1.5 inch again, I swallowed my pride about 7 years ago, got rid of my 2-inch wands, went back to 1.5 inch. All of the hand problems that I was having went away because you get your hand in a much more comfortable clamp down position when you're using 1.5 inch. So to me, that's a virtue. Now, I know some guys say you're not going to get as good at dry times because supposedly it's not recovering as much water and it's not moving as much air. I can tell you from actual experience and not just opinion, that's a bunch of bull crap. I'm probably the only person in the world who used to run 5 to the door with a Vortex. I had Vortexes before I started using Butlers. Forget 4 to the door. If you're in the industry, you understand what that means. I wasn't running 4 to the door with the Vortex. I was running 5 to the door, all 2.5-inch hose and 2-inch wands, and this has the exact same performance. There is no issue with using an 1.5-inch wand. Trust me. Most of the stuff about bigger hose and 4 to the door and 5 to the door and all that is just bragging rights and a bunch of myths. So don't get swept up in that. Do what's comfortable for you. I'm not knocking a 2-inch wand. I'm just saying for me and my hand, that 1.5-inch wand does just fine. All right, next, let's take this bad boy off of here. Kind of hard with one hand. Let's just examine the Butler wand, because I know that it looks slight, it looks dainty because of that 1.5-inch tube, but in reality, everything on this thing is super heavy duty. You've got really nice welds. Butler actually makes these wands in-house. They have their own metal shop down the street from where they design or they assemble the truck mounts, the carpet cleaning machines. So it's not like these are assembled in China with cheap Chinese metal and cheap Chinese welds. These are made by craftsmen in Massachusetts, and the results speak for themselves. Everything on it is heavy duty. For instance, even down here on the head, see the brackets under there that hold the manifold on? You got a bracket there, you got another bracket here. All of that stainless steel, it's all welded on. The manifold itself back here that the jets are screwed into, that's all stainless steel. That's all made in-house by Butler. That's their design, and they manufacture that. So even though the wand looks dainty and slight, it is really heavy duty. You also get stainless steel tubing instead of a floppy hose. I don't understand why you buy $1,000 plus wand, some of these other well-known brands, and they put an ugly floppy piece of solution line on here that doesn't stay put and it fails after a couple years. With Butler, everything's heavy duty. You get a stainless steel line instead of hose. I will say that it gets very hot. As you know, a Butler system truck mount, you're going to run about 240 at the machine. So when you're cleaning, this here is going to be somewhere around 200 degrees. You don't want to grab that with your hand, which is why I put this cool wrap on there. That's not just for looks, although it does look cool, but it helps you grab the wand, pardon me, and not burn your hand. Also too as well, in addition, look at the valve hanger. So a lot of wands, even high-end wands, they don't have an integrated valve hanger like that. They use like a clamp system or something that goes around the top to hold the valve on, and that's just chintzy. It's cheap, they always move out of position. They'll have really long protruding screws that catch on your pockets and stuff when you're trying to clean. And it's just cheap. Why would you put something that cheap on an expensive wand? I don't think I've ever seen a valve hanger that heavy duty, that like what Butler puts on their wands here. And that bad boy ain't going anywhere, I guarantee you. While we're talking about heavy duty, let's talk about the valve itself. You're going to get this huge old honkin' Butler valve, and that's a proprietary piece. I've never seen that valve anywhere else. I think they make that, but I could be wrong. You might have to ask a real expert like Mark Sager or somebody. A lot of guys don't like this valve. It used to be brass, and supposedly the brass valve had less problems. Now they've moved to stainless steel. I've never had a problem with it. The last Butler wand I had, I used every day for 6 years. Never once rebuilt that valve, and it never so much as dripped one drop of solution out of the valve. Never had one problem with it in 6 years of operation, thousands of hours of operation. And the only reason I don't still have that last wand is because when I sold the van that it was on, I left the wand on it for the guy who bought that van. So this valve here is a virtue. Now I will say, when this wand was brand new, it did stick a little bit. So sometimes when I would let off the trigger, something inside this valve would stick and it would continue to spray water down there out of the jets. But it's like it just kind of had to get seated or something. That was probably within the first 10, 20 hours of operation. And it would only do it when it was really hot. But something in there seated and got broken, and I have not had any trouble with it ever since. It functions perfectly. And by the way, if you really hate the stainless steel that much, you can still order this wand with a brass valve, so no excuses. The other thing that is super cool about the valve hanger and the valve kind of working together is this trigger adjustment. See that little thumb screw right there? See if we can get it to focus. That thumb screw adjusts how much play you have in the trigger. So if you want no play and you just barely tap this trigger for water, you can do that. I like a little bit of play in it. It just is what I feel used to. So I don't crank that thumb screw down real far. In fact, if you do, it actually behaves differently under pressure than when it's not under pressure. So if you are going to play with that and adjust it, I do it when you've got pressure in the valve, because it's going to behave differently than when you're just messing around in the shop and you don't have your solution line plugged into your wand, because you can get it to where you crank the thumb screw down so tight you don't really realize it, but it's actually actuating the trigger and you're spraying water out all the time. You don't want that. So adjust that when you've got the valve under pressure, and you can get it dialed in just right. Very nice. I don't know that I've seen that on any other ones. You also get this really cool and innovative rail adjustment for the forward handle. I don't know that I've seen that on any other wand. A lot of times you have clamps or straps that come around the wand to hold the fore handle on, which I don't like. They come out of adjustment. You'll have screws hanging out to keep the clamps tight, and they're always catching on your pants when you're trying to clean. I've ripped pockets open with those before. This is really nice. It keeps everything contained in the rail. The screws are down there in the rail. You're never going to catch anything. You might think you're going to hit your fingers on these. You never do, unless you just have like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fingers or something. Mine aren't long enough to ever touch these screws while I'm cleaning. You can adjust it really fast as long as you've got the right socket, and just slides up and down. It's really easy to dial in exactly where you want it, and you're never going to have any problems with it. Once you get this thing set with the system they're using here with these screws and the clamps that are behind the rail, that thing is going to lock down so hard it will never move. You can drop this wand, step on it, kick it, whatever. That handle is there to stay. It ain't going anywhere, which is really nice. I will say the black handle here, the fore handle, is the weak link of this wand. With use, this weld right here will start to crack and break, because you're constantly putting pressure on that and moving it around and flexing the metal just enough that eventually that weld is going to break. And when it does, it sucks, because you don't realize that these two pieces of metal have come separated and the edge is razor sharp, and you'll be cleaning and all of a sudden the handle feels slippery and you look down and your hand is covered with blood because that edge has broken off and cut the crap out of your palm. And then you have to describe to the or explain to the customer why you've got blood all over their walls and all over the carpet. Don't ask me how I know. The solution to that: buy an extra handle, keep it in your van, keep it in the shop. They're about $40 from Butler, but well worth it, because when that starts to go, you can just swap it out real quick, and you can do it in less than 60 seconds, by the way. And let's talk about the Butler cleaning head. Now, I'll admit, it's not super innovative. There's not a whole lot of stuff special about it, but there is some stuff that's special about it. It's a nice low profile, which is that's good, of course. You can fit it underneath furniture. It fits real nice underneath beds and a lot of dressers and stuff. But what I really like about it is you've got your S-bend down here. A lot of wands that have an S-bend, it's like the bend starts and then bam, the head is right here. There's no length. But Butler gives you really good length with this S-bend before you get to the head. And that's super nice because you can really fit that thing under pretty far underneath beds and stuff like that. And then you don't have to move the bed because you've got that length there on the bend. Let's look at the other side of the head. Of course, you get these grommets here. 2 on either side. You got one in the middle there, if you can see that. Makes it really nice to clean out the head occasionally. You'd be surprised at what gets trapped in there, even if you do pretty good at keeping the head clean. You should remove those occasionally, and there will be like giant dead cats in there that you can pull out with a metal pick or something. You get the splash guard. I know, other companies do that, but it's worth mentioning. Butler says that it holds heat in. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. But the reason I like the splash guard is because your feet don't get wet by the end of the day. So if you have a long day, you're just working and working and working. You ever notice when you get home, if you don't have a splash guard, your toes are wet because you've had solution blasting back at you all day long, and you don't realize that slowly over the course of the day, your socks have started to get wet. With that splash guard, you don't have that happen. Also, the slot, you can't see it because I've got the glide on there. The slot doesn't flex like a lot of other wands. Yes, it's got a pin right there in the middle, which is kind of annoying. Some debris will get stuck on that from time to time, but it's nice to have that slot that doesn't pinch off and restrict airflow. It stays put, it's welded really nice. And of course, I already mentioned, but you get Butler's manifold down there. The jet spacing is perfect, and as a matter of fact, they've got the height and spacing of that manifold exactly where they want it. Butler wants those jets 1 7/8 inches off the floor, and that's exactly where that manifold is going to be set when you get the wand. So I don't mess with any of that. I just leave it alone. I don't put jet extenders or anything on there because I figure that Butler knows what they're doing. Let me see if I've missed anything about the head. The fact that it's not a swivel, that's a plus to me. I know swivels are popular these days. I like to be able to tip the wand when I'm cleaning. You know, you can tip the one side of the head up so you can suck up debris or something, or sometimes I'll tip it so I can spray a little solution into a corner or along a baseboard, which is a lot harder to do with a swivel head. I guess there's some tricks you can figure out for that, but I just don't like swivel heads. That's personal preference. I don't have anything against them, but it's getting harder and harder to find an 1.5 inch tube wand with a fixed head. Seems like most of them these days have a swivel head, but you can still get it from Butler, and it's still a world-class, high-quality wand, which is another reason I really like this. The other thing I like about the Butler wand is just the sheer Butler quirkiness. Everything they do is just kind of quirky, so that wand has a distinct profile. I could feel it in the dark and know which was the Butler wand. It's just odd enough and a weird enough profile that it's different, which I like. It's a little taller than other 1.5 inch wands, which is nice for me. I'm 6.5 feet tall, so a tall wand helps me out a lot. What else do you get? The spray guard, of course, that's a little quirky. You get their quirky proprietary stuff like the valve hanger, the trigger adjustment that I already showed you. You get the, I don't know if you noticed on the jets under there, but you get these, see how they stagger the jets? They're not all in an exact row. I gotta call Butler and ask about that. I'm sure they have some reason for it, but it's kind of cool. A little different. Usually you see the jets all lined in a row down there on the manifold. Also, more Butler quirkiness. They made a little home for this wand. So it fits in its own little home right there. They've got a special base for the head to sit in, and the handle sits up there in that little bracket. I did experiment with other wands when I first got this fan, high-end wands, and they would not fit exactly in that same spot. But Butler is just quirky enough that their wand fits in there perfectly, which is just charming because everything Butler does has a reason to it, and I really like that. So, what else can I tell you? The jets are set up for VFlow, more Butler quirkiness. Most wands these days, or I don't know, maybe like 6-flow seems to be most popular. But 5-flow, and the reason for that is, let me show you. The Butler pump is rated for 5 gallons per minute. So I know it's real popular to try to pimp out your wand, put 6 or 8 flow on it, but with the Butler, there's no reason to do that because your pump is only rated for 5 gallons per minute. Now, I believe there's some argument, I don't know if this is true or not, but some say, oh, well, the solution line, forcing the water through 200 feet of solution line is going to restrict that 5 gallons per minute down to about 4 gallons per minute. So yeah, maybe you should set your wand up for 6 flow so it balances out and you come back to 5. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but I have found that it's best not to buck the system with Butler, and I will give you an example of that. They want you to pull hose through this little hatch here, which I resisted when I first got this van. I didn't want to use the hatch, so I just kept trying to pull hose right out the side door to try to save a couple seconds on each job. The problem with that is, look what happened to my wrap. No matter how careful I was pulling out hose and wrapping it back up, I gunked up the wrap down here, which is just heartbreaking. And even a little bit on the door, on the side door. Now you can't really see it when the side door is closed, but when I have the door open, I see that stuff and it just breaks my heart. If I had just done what Butler wanted me to do and used that hatch from the get-go, the wrap would still look brand new and I wouldn't have ruined my $8,000 wrap. Like I said, when the door is closed, you can't tell, but it's still heartbreaking for me to know that that's there. So the point of that little story is, I don't buck the trend with Butler. If they want that wand to be 5-flow, I'm going to leave it 5-flow because they have a reason for doing that. That's the whole point. All right. General use. That's another reason that I like this wand. When you look at it, it looks like nothing special. It looks like a no-frills wand, but it actually has tons of bells and whistles that you're not going to get anywhere else on any other wand. You get the valve hanger, you get the valve, you get the trigger adjustment, you get the rail system, you get stainless steel tubing. I know other wands have that too, but you get the longer S bend down there. You get the good Butler welds, the high quality stainless. So even though it looks like a no frills wand, that's a world-class wand that actually has more options probably than any other wand out there on the market. So it's a joy to use. You can dial it in just for you and get it perfect. You don't have to worry about whether or not it's going to work the next morning. Is this the day the valve is going to start leaking on me? Is this the day the jets are going to be all clogged up? It just works, which is really nice. It's nice to be able to go to work and have confidence that you can do the job and you're not going to have a major breakdown. So my suggestion is, if you get a Butler wand, it will come with a Delrin glide. This is the glide that came on that 14-inch wand there. It doesn't slide on carpet as easy as Teflon. So I would keep the Delrin glide. This is handy to have if you're doing like a hard surface flood, or you can even clean tile with it. But it's just really fatiguing to use that a full day on carpet because it does not glide as easy as Teflon. It's almost as if using a wand with no glide on it at all. It's a little easier than that, but it's close enough that it'll really wear you out if you use that all day. So I would take that off the wand and order a Teflon wand from Joe Brister, WandersProducts. His wands are his glides are high quality. They're not going to break the bank, but they're just as good as any other glide out there. I prefer the slot glide. I bought two from Joe last time around. I got a slot and a hole. The slot glide I accidentally broke when I tried to take it off the wand one day. So then I had the hole glide laying around. So I'm going to use that hole glide until it gets too worn out to use anymore. You can see that the ends are starting to get a little flat, but it's got a few months of use left in it. But when that's used up, I'm going to go back to the slot glide. It's just a little bit more convenient and sucks up debris a little bit better. The hole glide does glide easier. It's a lot easier to push that around, but I like the convenience of the slot glide. So I would get that from Joe Brister. What else can I tell you? I would also, let me show you how to remove the glide, because Joe's glides fit really good, which is awesome. That's what you want, but they can be hard to take off. So I'll show you how I do it. You can do it two ways. You can get a rubber mallet and stand backwards, swing the mallet back this way, and glance it off the glide. And it's best if the Teflon is heated up a little bit, so maybe clean with it for a couple minutes or put it in a sink tub under hot water. But you can knock it off with the rubber mallet. If you don't want to do that, like in a customer's home, they're going to think you're crazy swinging a mallet around in their living room. You can take a screwdriver, and you see the two brackets in there. You can use those as little pry points. Don't pry out here because you're going to bend the splash guard. There's no structural rigidity there. But if you pry there, you can pop that end off, and then pry right there, you can pop that end off. You can actually see where I've done this several times and kind of marred the Teflon a little bit, but it's on the back side where no one will ever see. That's how you pop the glide off. The other thing I would do, pardon the burp, if I sound out of breath, it's because I've been drinking Rockstar all morning and this stuff just gets my heart going so bad I can't hardly breathe. Woo! I'm probably going to die before the end of this video. Oh God. The other thing I would do is take the sticker off. So when you get one of these wands from Butler, they have the sticker on the top. It looks nice at first, but after you use the wand for any length of time, it'll start to get scratched from pushing it under furniture and stuff. And after a while, it looks really gross and just beat up. So if you can start a corner of it, you can peel it off. I took a piece of fishing line, like 20-pound fishing line, once I got a corner up, and I just seesawed the fishing line back and forth all the way down and just kind of sliced it off the top and then used some Goo Gone to get the rest of the sticker off of the head of the 14-inch. And it's just easier to keep clean that way, and it looks better, and you don't have a sticker on there that's all torn up. So, how to care for your wand. Of course, you want to clean the filter out. I'm going to be honest, I probably only pop that filter off of there about every 6 months, but I've got a really nice water softener on my van, and I don't get a lot of debris in that filter or scale. Maybe I should do it more often. I'm sure the Butler owner's manual tells you how often you should, but I'm probably doing it about every 6 weeks. So keep your filter clean. Rinse the wand after every job, inside and out. So I lost my wash downer. If you guys know Tori, I think he stole it. I think it's on his van over there. But I use the little jet that Butler gives you when you get a new Butler. So you plug it into your solution line right there and turn the machine on after the job. And then I spray down the inside of the wand. And let's see if we can get a good view in there. I probably can't get the light just right, but this wand has about 500 hours on it. And you could eat off the inside of that tube because I keep it really clean and it doesn't stink. You know how a wand will start to smell after a while? If you rinse out the inside after every single job, you don't have that problem. So rinse that out and then lay it down. Lay it down and use your little nozzle. Spray down here behind that splash guard really good. I apologize if you can hear me burping. I know I'm a gross person, but there's nothing I can do about it. Spray up in there real good. Get all that rinsed out. And then before you put it back in the van, have a towel handy and dry it off. The old roster, I always got a towel in my pocket. Wipe this bad boy down, keep it looking good, put it back in your van, and that wand will last you forever, and it'll look brand new forever. Keep a good fresh glide on it, of course. When your glide starts to get flattened out and gross, throw it away, get a new glide, don't be cheap. And also, another little secret, if you don't know about this, is Neverdull. You can get that at an auto parts store, AutoZone or O'Reilly's or whatever. And just polish your wand down with this crap. Kind of looks like cotton candy or something. Just read the instructions on the can, but you can polish your wand to a mirror shine with this. You just rub it on there, and eventually it'll start to kind of turn black. You'll see black residue on your wand, and that's when you know that you're going to have a nice shine on it. Kind of let it dry and just buff it off, and that stainless steel will gleam like a mirror, and it is impressive when you carry that into somebody's house and the light is glancing off your wand and blinding the customer. They do notice, because you got to remember, whoever cleaned their carpet the last time, their wand was probably all corroded and covered in cat hair and really gross, and your wand is going to look like a surgical instrument. Look at that. Look how clean that is, besides the glide, but there's nothing you can do about that. But it makes a big impression. Now, I want to tell you something amazing about this. When I got this Butler, it came with this 10-inch wand, which is too small. I kept it around as a backup. So I went shopping around and thought I would get a high-end brand name $2,000 titanium wand. And I ordered a couple and didn't like any of them. You know why? Pretty much every wand I got was junk. They used, clamps to hold on the valve hanger. They use clamps to hold on the handle. The head would overspray. I tried adjusting the manifolds up, down, forward, backward, new jets, jet extenders, all of it. I could not believe that these high-end wands overspray so bad. Maybe I was just spoiled from using a Butler wand for 6 years, but I could not believe that a high-end wand worth that much money would overspray as bad as the wands that I tested out. Took them all back, got my money back, and I actually bought that wand from Butler, which is kind of crazy because most guys view that as a throwaway wand that you get for free when you buy a new Butler truck mount, and then they toss that thing in the dumpster. And I'm probably the only person that actually went out and bought one of these, let alone got one for free on my truck. I actually paid money for it. So it's about $900. After tax and shipping to Indianapolis, it was a little over $1,000. But I think that should say something to you. The fact that with a lot of other options on the market, I stuck with the Butler wand. The point of this video is to try to get people to think differently about the Butler wand. Don't just view it as a throwaway. I think you should reconsider it. I'd put it up against anything else on the market. Obviously, money was no issue. You can tell from looking at my rig. I spared no expense. I could have put a $2,000 titanium wand on this van if I wanted to, but I didn't. I put the lowly Butler wand on there, and I'm very proud of it, and I use it every day. Guys, I think I'm having a heart attack. I can't breathe. I gotta go. I'm dying here. There's my number. If you're in or around Indianapolis, just call or text. Let me take a chug of this Rockstar. That's gonna help. There we go. I got my heart started again. Call or text me. I'm here to help. If you have any questions, let me know. I love you guys. I gotta go. I think I might be having a heart attack.